They enshrined a divine truth that changed the world forever when they said, all men are created equal. These immortal words set in motion the unstoppable march of freedom. Our founders boldly declared that we are all endowed with the same divine rights given us by our Creator in heaven, and that which God has given us, we will allow no one ever to take away, ever.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we are back and we are going to expose the breaking news that the fake news will not talk about. Did you know that Ghislaine Maxwell's sister Christine helped create the official counterterrorism database for the FBI? Did you also know that her and her sister may have put backdoors into those databases and that that's how they were orchestrating this blackmail scheme? You're going to want to stick around and hear that and a whole lot more. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know the drill. I say thanks if you've hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell and select all so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. Plus, stick around at the end. We do a segment called God's Grace is Greater where we talk about God's grace. Today, we're going to talk about Psalm 91, where it tells us how God will protect us through this plague that we are going through right now. And if you want to get that message, please stick around for it at the end. So, we're going to get into the latest post. We're picking up right where we left off, though. We left off at Q Post 4580 about a little over a week ago, and we haven't had any posts since. But I have taken some time off. As you guys know, I haven't been posting through this whole last week, but now I am back. And I want to first say, thank you to everybody for all of your comments and all of your prayers and all of your positive messages, because before we get into the video here, I just want to explain, I had to take some time off to recharge my batteries. I had to, kind of take time to focus on what's important. And in doing that, I realized very quickly that ingesting so much of this content and having to sift through so much of this hatred and evil, it takes a toll on you. And some of you out there express the same thing. So I want to remind everyone out there that no matter how dark, no matter how evil, no matter how grim some of this stuff is that we cover, God's grace is greater. And if we just remember that, then we'll be able to not only survive this onslaught, which seems to never end, but we will thrive and we will prevail because the victory's already been won. Christ was sacrificed on the cross for your sins, for my sins, for our sins, so that we may have eternal salvation. If you want to hear more about that message, please stick around to the end. But I just encourage you all to take the time you need to step away from all of this, disconnect when you need to, and recharge your batteries and take time to take care of yourself, because that is so much more important. And we're going to need every single one of you as we get closer to the election, as the vitriolic rhetoric continues to amplify and amplify, and as these people continue to pull out every stop, every dirty trick, every lying manipulation that you can imagine to try to deceive you, you can overcome it. But if it becomes overwhelming, remember, take the time to step away and disconnect and focus on your family and your friends and your community, helping out others, being kind, doing good things. Those are what's important. And that's my message for you just as I come back here to get started. So today we have a lot to cover, and the main story we're going to cover is this. We're going to talk about Christine Maxwell. Now, who is Christine Maxwell? She is the sister, one of a few actually, of Ghislaine Maxwell. And you guys already know that today we've had multiple stories coming out about Ghislaine Maxwell and the fact that we have a few things going on. I guess since we've last spoken was the initial arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell, and then she was just put in front of a judge where she was denied bail and remanded back into federal custody because she is a flight risk. But what people don't understand is that Robert Maxwell, her father, had other children like Christine Maxwell. And who is Christine Maxwell? She's a British internet content pioneer and educator, according to Wikipedia, but also known for creating a company called Chiliad, or as they pronounce it, ominously enough, Kiliad. Now, there is a lot of information about this company that is very disturbing and warrants a further investigation. So we're going to dive into some major points about all of this. And this is something that, when it was brought to my attention by a friend, I started digging on it. They gave me some more information, and everything that I see is really disturbing. Let's just say that. So let's start here. We have this Washington Post article from 2006. Now, I'm going to read this whole article to you because it's important to give you context for the story of Christine Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, and how they were able to have this possibly have this backdoor access to these major intelligence databases, which may have helped facilitate their blackmail operations. So let's hear it here. This is from the Washington Post 2006, when they were writing about the FBI showing off its counterterrorism database. It says, quote, this is from the article, "The FBI has built a database with more than 659 million records, including terrorist watch lists, intelligence cables, and financial transactions culled from more than 50 FBI and other government agencies' sources. The system is one of the most powerful data analysis tools available to law enforcement and counterterrorism agents," FBI officials said yesterday. The FBI demonstrated the database to reporters yesterday, in part to address criticism that its technology was failing and outdated, as the 5th anniversary of the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks nears. Privacy advocates said the investigative data warehouse launched in January 2004 raises concerns about how long the government stores such information about the right of citizens to know what records are kept and correct information that is wrong. In a demonstration, Grigg sat at a computer and typed in the name Mohammed Atta, one of the 19 hijackers in 2001. The system can handle variants of names and up to 29 variants on birth dates. He typed "flight training" in the query box and pulled up 250 articles related to Atta. Quote, "The system, designed by Kiliad Inc. of Amherst, Massachusetts, can be programmed to send alerts to agents on new information," Grigg said. "Names, social security numbers, and driver's license details can be linked and cross-matched across hundreds of millions of records." Okay, so this article is talking about the FBI's counterterrorism database, which they were showing off back in 2006, where it's designed by the company which was co-founded by the sister of Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, what do you know? Why would the FBI be outsourcing the architecting or building of their internal counterterrorism intelligence databases to the sister of a British woman whose father was obviously connected to these intelligence agencies nefariously? Well, let's look a little closer at it. All right. Here you see CEO and president listed for that company is Christine Maxwell. And of course, down here it has the Wikipedia page attached to it. But if we go a little bit further, here is an actual video where you can see that and you can actually hear her voice. It's Christine Maxwell on this video who is explaining how Kiliad's databases work in gathering intelligence. And what they do is they kind of go through how there's a traditional set of information that they would put in spreadsheets and that would be used by these intelligence services, but then that they are able to connect all of the different things, the websites, emails, image metadata, collaboration portals, customer relations, expert systems, social media like Facebook, how they were connecting all of that for the FBI, right? So you can see right here in this chart that is being explained by Christine Maxwell in this video, which I'm not going to play because they'll probably try to remove my video if I play their audio over it. But you can see from these screenshots of their own company's video, where they actually describe in detail what they do, that this system they were setting up was actually to revamp the intelligence databases of the FBI and other intelligence services who contracted their service. So what does this all mean? All right, well, Interestingly enough, Mockingbird paper.com over here had an article written by this man, Jerry, or this person, I should say. I'm not sure if it's man or woman, Jerry Bello, who says some very interesting things. I'm going to start right here. So it says, Christine Maxwell was an early internet pioneer. In 1993, she launched the Magellan, one of the first search engines on the World Wide Web internet content. Magellan was acquired by competing search engine Excite in 1996 at a considerable profit to the initial investors and a boon to Maxwell, who began her working career in publishing like her father. She reinvested in big data search technologies, co-founding a company called Gilead. Gilead makes use of on-demand, massively scalable, intelligent mining of structured and unstructured data through the use of natural language search technologies. The firm's software was behind the data search technology used by the FBI's counterterrorism data warehouse. They made their big breakthrough into government contracting just as Jeffrey Epstein was getting into his first legal trouble in 2008. Interesting. In the post 9/11 world, one would think that Christine Maxwell, being a foreign national and owning a software company that is directly involved in counterterrorism, would warrant a background check. Probably, but obviously not. One would think that such a background check would find her sister's boyfriend's conviction on charges of soliciting a minor for sex, which is what intelligence leave him alone Acosta allowed Epstein to plead his crimes down to the first time. Being Epstein's girlfriend's sister was not her only connection to Epstein. Christine Maxwell also sat on the board of the Santa Fe Institute, which is an independent nonprofit theoretical research institute located in dedicated to the multidisciplinary study of the fundamental principles of complex adaptive systems, including physical, computational, etc. And it shows here that Epstein made an open $25,000 donation to this institute back in 2011. And it gives us a little example of where that information is sourced. The article goes on if you want to read all of that, but I will leave a link to it in the description below this video. But let's just get into some other information that is very important to understanding all of this. First of all, they have these things called blinds over on this website called Crazy Days and Nights. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a website where you have, I guess, an insider who has a lot of information, posts anonymously these blind items without actually naming people's names, but that give you an idea of what might be happening behind the scenes. And this blind item back from July 4th of 2020, or June 26th, I should say, should be very important to people who want to understand what happened here. So I'm going to read this to you as well because it's very important. Now it says, let me take you on a little journey back in time. Many years ago, the father of the Madame Procure, serial sexual assaulter, built his fortune. And now remember, this is talking about Robert Maxwell is the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, Isabel and Christine Maxwell are the sisters. Gilead is the company. Wirecard is a company we're going to talk about in a second. And North Korea, China, and Jan Marsalek are the other references here that aren't really said directly, possibly being the correct answers to the key here, if you will. Possibly, you know. It says sexual assaulter built his fortune not just on his media empire, but also on information. That information was then used to blackmail people, whether he did it for governments or for his own pocketbook. The operations were always ongoing. Over time, the operations became larger and larger because his expenses far outweighed his income. He became greedy, too greedy. He ended up dead. I think that's referring to Robert Maxwell. It says, although his children might not have known he was out of money, they all did learn one thing from him: blackmail. They also learned that if you could play on the inside, you would have knowledge. Knowledge is power, knowledge is money, and playing on the inside meant you can control who escapes and who is caught. Playing on the inside means you can make it possible or impossible for someone to be found. So just take this statement, though, and think about it. If Ghislaine Maxwell and her sister Christine were able to have installed backdoors into the U.S. government's major counterterrorism intelligence databases and other major intelligence databases, what could you imagine what they could do? Could you imagine the kind of blackmail and fraud and just complete extortion and rackets that they could be running? Could you imagine it? And that these people were on the inside, that somehow our government was granting contracts to this Ghislaine Maxwell's sister to build databases for our government? This is why the fake news won't touch this story. This is why their handlers at the top are forcing them to not cover it. That's why they call you and me a conspiracy theorist. And that's why they attack us every day with these false lies about us being white supremacists and being evil Nazis, because we're catching them in the middle of this massive intelligence operation where they've basically been caught with their pants around their ankles, and we are exposing them, and we're not going to back down. So the next one here, the next paragraph says, 2 of the daughters focused on playing on the inside. What did they accomplish? A backdoor into the computers of various intelligence and border control agencies in countries throughout the world. How did they accomplish this? They designed the system. That's the Gilead, what I was just talking about. They built it. They sold it to one country at a time. One of the things the software is used for is border controls. If you have the ability to pretend someone is in a country or show them never entering or leaving a country, you can hide someone really well. Or you can kidnap somebody and make them disappear. I added that part myself. It says it could also make it really easy to hide a family member. It is not a fail-safe system for hiding someone, but it takes away one of the biggest tools governments have for finding someone who is trying to disappear. Fast forward to the present day, to the biggest blackmailing operation in the history of the world, a blackmailing operation that involves multiple state actors and one of the biggest accounting frauds since Enron. The accounting fraud was only possible because regulators in several countries were being pressured by other state actors. All of these directions lead to Asia. One of the state actors handled the banking and fraud aspect. They had a trial run last year with their successful hacking of international banks. That, in that country is obviously China, I think, so what it's referring to. That country does not have the wherewithal or ability to take on a large-scale blackmail operation. You need someone larger for that, a very large country who also happens to be the sponsor lifeline for the other company. It says here, you have a missing executive of a company that processed thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of transactions for child porn. The executive has all of the information of who produced it, distributed it, and consumed it through these financial transactions. Meanwhile, why not steal some money while they were at it and cover that up too? Now, what about the sisters I wrote about earlier? The ability to manipulate where someone went and where someone is going. The executive supposedly flew into a Southeast Asian country, at least according to the immigration arrival records in the country's computer system. However, he is not on any video. No one remembers him on the flight. The next day, he supposedly leaves for the country behind all of this, but there were no flights to that country at that time that correspond with the immigration records. It sure makes it a lot easier to hide when you have someone on the inside. Okay, so to explain all of this, it is insinuating that the Maxwell sisters, in coordination with Jeffrey Epstein, were taking information that they had access to through backdoors in U.S. intelligence databases that they created and had been contracted to make for our government because of, obviously, corruption and blackmail that existed beforehand. And then they were able to use that to set up a bigger operation for blackmail with, you guessed it, China. Now, what is this Wirecard thing, and what is this talking about? Well, let's look at this. Former Wirecard CEO, this is from June 23rd of this year, was arrested as embattled payment firms' accounting crisis deepens. Oh, there's an accounting crisis for Marcus Braun, who's the chief executive of Wirecard. Let's read this story. Former Wirecard CEO Marcus Braun has been arrested on charges of inflating the company's balance sheet. Prosecutors said in Munich said on Tuesday Braun resigned on Friday after the German payment service provider said authorities couldn't locate 1.9 billion euros of cash on its balance sheet. On Monday, the company said it was likely that those funds do not exist. Or is it possible that those monies were being funneled into systems that were created for blackmail and black market activities such as creating and facilitating child sex trafficking and etc. and other types of trafficking, whether it's guns or whether it's drugs or whatever. Now, one of the things that somebody brought to my attention when they reached out to me with some of this information was talking about a few different things. I want to hit on a few key points here. Were the Maxwell sisters learning how to be like their dad and blackmail people based on this information gathering? That's the first question I think we should ask, right? Because when you start making the connections, you understand how incredibly suspicious this all is. Now, it seems that this Wirecard CEO, Marcus Braun, flew to the Philippines, and I believe that was the guy that they were talking about in the blind here in this Crazy Days and Nights blind. But it says he flew to the Philippines according to the Gilead searches, but there was no video proof of it. Okay, so that's what we heard about. So I thought that was Epstein. No, that was actually Marcus Braun, the guy that we're talking about here, this Wirecard CEO. Excuse me for getting that mixed up. But what's important to understand is that he flew out of the Philippines according to Gilead searches, but there were no flights out of there that matched those results. So what was he doing in the Philippines? The story is that supposedly he was using Wirecard to manage the transactions for the production, distribution, and consumption of child porn. And Braun had a copy of this information on him during his arrest, and that Wirecard was muscled by China to be the payment processor of choice for their state-backed blackmail operations. And this all was happening, as we see just recently, right as Ghislaine Maxwell is being turning herself in to the FBI, right? The plot has thickened immensely, ladies and gentlemen. And this story is very important, and I'm going to leave all these links, and I hope you guys look at all this information and put it together how you will, and maybe you have a better way of looking at it than I do, but it just seems really very suspicious. So that was the big story I wanted to get through here. A few other stories I want to cover, though. Today, in the New York Times editorial pool, we have Bari Weiss leaving. Now, why is she leaving? Because for her conservative views, she was bullied relentlessly by her coworkers. Here is her own statement about the bullying and how she was treated by these woke progressives who call themselves tolerant and inclusive. Listen to this. This is her writing a letter about the way she was treated. And remember, this is an editor at the New York Times in the editorial opinion category. She says, "My own forays into wrongthink have made me the subject of constant bullying by colleagues who disagree with my views. They have called me a Nazi and a racist. I have learned to brush off comments about how I'm writing about the Jews again, quote unquote. Several colleagues perceived to be friendly with me were badgered by coworkers. My work and my character are openly demeaned on company-wide Slack channels where masthead editors regularly weigh in. There, some coworkers insist I need to be rooted out if this company is to be truly inclusive one." This is insanity. While others post axe emojis next to my name. Still, other New York Times employees publicly smear me as a liar and a bigot on Twitter with no fear that harassing me will be met with appropriate action. They never are. There are terms for all of this: unlawful discrimination, hostile work environment, and constructive discharge. I'm no legal expert, but I know that this is wrong. So this is the society that the culture that's being bred by these evil people. Think about it. Everything I just talked about, Ghislaine Maxwell, Christine Maxwell, the backdoors into the intelligence databases, the blackmail, the Chinese government using these major corrupted companies as their payment processors for their state-backed blackmail operations, possibly. All of that's possible. I'm just speculating here, right? To be very clear about that. But the culture that's bred is, if you talk about these things, you're a Nazi. You're a racist. You're writing about the Jews again. And then they say they have to banish you to be truly inclusive. I mean, this is like Orwellian doublespeak to the max. We have to silence you to be inclusive. We have to remove you from the conversation to be inclusive. And then they put axe emojis next to her name and openly smear her. And nobody at the New York Times does anything. They openly welcome an environment where you can unlawfully discriminate and create a hostile work environment against an employee who's expressing their opinion, which you're paying them to express their opinion. But if you don't express the right opinion, they're going to come after you because they don't believe in free speech. They believe in singular groupthink. And if you don't think what they think, you are going to be removed. You're going to be harassed. You're going to be chastised. You're going to be discriminated against. And trust me, you, me, all of us, we feel it every day. I spend a lot of time on social media. I see what these people write. I see the lies that they put out there. I see the way that you get attacked and called a white supremacist and a Nazi for doing nothing other than questioning their narrative. That's dangerous, and that's where we're headed. As we have information coming out again of Joe Biden here laughing with the former Ukrainian president about how they're going to sabotage Trump's campaign. And I'll leave a link to the article if you want to read through it and watch the video and listen to it. But this is insanity. What is this world coming to? I mean, this is why I had to take a break. I was like, you see this every day, and it just seems like nobody's doing anything about it. But trust me, I know that things are happening behind the scenes, and I pray for this nation, because what else can we do, right? We can expose it, and we can pray hard every day, put our faith in God. So pray and pray again, right? And then we can go out and we can start marching. We can start peacefully protesting, as the media likes to call it, and we can start telling our representatives, whether it's in local government, state government, or federal government, to do their jobs and grow a backbone and start exposing these criminals and remove them from power. If Joe Biden wins, I don't know what's going to happen to this nation, but it's not going to be good, and it's not going to be pretty. And I can guarantee you that, because we're not going to let criminals run this country. We're not going to let open criminals just run around doing what they've been doing for decades, sabotaging this nation from within. Infiltration instead of invasion. Remember that. Rush Limbaugh here quoted saying, "It took worldwide pandemic. It took a 35% plunge in the stock market. It took many small businesses closing. It took canceling practically everything to bring the U.S. economy back to the Obama high mark." Yeah, thanks, Rush. Prayers for Rush, too, as he goes through some tough times. Of course, here you have the USA Today circling the wagons for Representative Ilhan Omar, telling us that she was not in an Al-Qaeda training camp in Somalia. Well, great. That doesn't change the fact that she's anti-American. She wants to take apart and destroy our system of law and order and replace it with some hellish dystopia that you see happening in Minnesota right now. Just look at Minneapolis, okay? Look at what the people do that run that place. She represents that state. So just look at what they do there. That's what they want for the rest of the country. Mark my words on that. As Fox News comes out and tells us about the Florida Department of Health saying some labs have not reported negative COVID-19 results, which has resulted in 100% positivity rates. Now, the article goes on to explain that there has been some sort of miscalculation where they had a 98% positivity rate. But when Fox News contacted the hospital, they confirmed errors in the report and that the positivity rate was actually only 9.4%. So could you imagine? Why are they doing this? Because they need to steal the 2020 election. They need to make you believe that there is an ongoing massive pandemic that requires mail-in voting so that they can send out mail-in ballots to everyone in the country and then illegally harvest them and illegally fraudulently fill them out for Joe Biden and drop them off at polling places by the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, so that they can steal this election from the patriots who are trying to save this country as we speak. Yeah, that's what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. So, among other things, right? LA Times calling for the cancellation of the Star Spangled Banner. What's new? I've come to the point that the LA Times is just, I live out here in California now, but you just read this thing and it's like, it's just as bad as the New York Times. It's like reading, just communist propaganda every day. Bail denied for Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, we talked about that briefly. And the deep state's panicking over President Trump's commutation of Roger Stone. Did you guys see this? Yeah, of course they are, because they know that we know where all the bodies are buried. And one thing that I thought was very cool here too, you guys see all my numbers on Twitter, but this is my analytics. But I just found out this month that I have a new follower who goes by the name of General Michael Flynn, or as you guys know him, General Flynn on Twitter. And yeah, honored. I'm honored to have General Flynn following my account. It's just proof positive that patriots are here and we're not going to go away. So these criminals think they're going to get away with this, but they're not. So you can take solace in that, at least, that we are on the right track here with what we are doing on a daily basis. Now, before we go, that's where we're going to wrap it up for that part of the show. And then a few more things before we go. You guys should stick around for watch these videos, share them on your social media, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. Don't forget, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. Download it for free It's great. It's an internet browser. It'll replace Internet Explorer, Safari, Firefox, Chrome, whatever you're using. It's a better internet browser. You can get it for free. It blocks the ads. It's got a bunch of built-in features, including a private Tor browser and a bunch of other stuff that if you're a little more advanced, you'll really enjoy. It's free, did I mention? Use the link in the description and download it today. That way they know I sent you, and then they'll make a contribution to this channel once you install it and run it on your computer. So check it out. You can get it on your desktop, laptop, smartphone. It's a great product. I can't tell you how great it is anymore. It's such a great product. I use it every day. I encourage you guys to check it out. Also, don't forget you can find me over here on Twitter at JustInformYou. I'm also on Twitter at informed_news. Plus, you can find me at justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, and on BitChute.com is the backup channel, BitChute.com/justinformedtalk. Also, if you want to make a contribution to this channel, you can find me over here on Patreon, patreon.com, crowdfunding website, where your donations keep this channel alive. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. I know you're helping create content on this channel. I can't tell you how much it means to me. Thank you for your support. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to help keep this channel alive, please consider making a donation. And this is for anonymous or one-time donations here. So check out the links in the description if you want to help out. And as always, before we go, we do a segment at the end called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. So today we're going to look at a very special psalm, and this is specifically talking about how God is going to protect us through everything that's happening right now, especially with this plague, this pestilence that's come upon us through this COVID-19. This is just a reminder to all of you out there that God's in control and that God will protect us. I'm going to read this whole thing to you. It's Psalm 91. It says, "The one who lives under the protection of the Most High dwells in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. He himself will deliver you from the hunter's net, from the destructive plague. He will cover you with his feathers. You will take refuge under his wings. His faithfulness will be a protective shield. You will not fear the terror of the night, the arrow that flies by day, the plague that stalks in darkness, or the pestilence that ravages at noon. Though 1,000 fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, the pestilence will not reach you. You will only see it with your eyes and witness the punishment of the wicked. Because you have made the Lord my refuge, the Most High, your dwelling place. No harm will come to you, no plague will come near your tent, for he will give his angels orders concerning you to protect you in all your ways. They will support you with their hands so that you will not strike your foot against the stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra, and you will trample the young lion and the serpent. Because he is lovingly devoted to me, I will deliver him. I will exalt him because he knows my name. When he calls out to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and give him honor. I will satisfy him with a long life and show him my salvation." There you go, guys. Through all this, the pestilence, the plague, and as it says here, even the enemies, the terror of the night. Remember, God will deliver us from it all. God is with us. God is with you. God is with me. And as tough as it is sometimes to see that, we have to just remind ourselves of it every day and share it with our family and friends and loved ones. And that's my message to you. That's my mission for you. Take the word of our Lord and help others see that no matter what happens, whether 10,000 fall at your side, you will be protected because you've put your faith in God above and Christ our Savior. So that's my message to you. Take that, share that with your family, friends, and loved ones. Thank you guys for showing up to watch these videos. I absolutely love each and every one of you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for all the positive messages and allowing me to take some time off. I promise you I will be back to my daily posting starting today. So thank you for watching this episode, and that's going to be it for me. Remember to come here, click the subscribe button, also hit it, punch it, tap it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.